cleanup in the print shop. So the last video after printing, I was talking about stripping your printing block of ink. So if you just recently printed your block, you want to strip off the excess ink by running it through the press a couple times and until you get a really faint image off your block onto the newsprint. So you're always stripping this off onto just like scraps, sheets of paper or newsprint. So you do that first to clean the block off. You can also afterwards clean your block off with vegetable oil and soapy water, but that tends to fill in the gray spaces or the clean spaces with ink, and which can print as oily residue later. So just be careful about how much you do that with your blocks. So once the ink is entirely stripped off, then I need to also clean my ink slab and my brayer. And so that'll be the next bit. And so you can see on these though, I've stripped off the ink to the point this last little pull here is probably going to get it to where that impression on the newsprint is pretty faint, and that's good for me. So you should clean the press bed and any of the messes that you made at the press, so I can wipe off my Mylar guide, or if there's a shared Mylar guide, I'm cleaning that with soapy water. I can pull off my guide and my Mylar if this is my personal one, and just move it out of the way so the next person has a clean surface to print on. So then I am going to clean up the rest of the material. So I'm cleaning up my ink slab, my brayer, and the glass surface. So none of this ink goes back in the container once it's been used and contaminated. So I'm going to scrape this up onto sheets of phone book pages. I start by grabbing as much ink as I can off the table so that I'm not just making a mess of this. That goes on these sheets and then gets disposed of. And once that's done pretty well, then what I am using for this oil-based ink is I am going to be using vegetable oil and soapy water, which is a pretty non-toxic solution to cleaning in the shop. So a small bead of vegetable oil, a little goes a long ways, and this is oilier than the ink, so it breaks up the ink, and that's what I'm trying to do at first, is just kind of break up the big chunks, absorb a bunch of that onto the paper towels. Then I do another bead and I can roll the brayer through this, and then I'm going to wipe that brayer really well with paper towels. This is going to take several attempts at this until I'm no longer getting any inky residue. The ink will ruin the brayer if you do not get it all off, so you need to be really thorough about this process and be really thorough. Since you're printing in a shop with multiple people, you need to clean up really well so that you're not affecting somebody else's process. So you can see I reapplied a small bead of vegetable oil again, and you can still see how much ink is coming off this. So wiping it well, I'm going to do this until I don't see residue coming off on these paper towels. So make sure you get the edges. If your hands had ink on them at any point in time, you need to also clean the handles of things. So you just need to be really thorough, like I said, and cognizant that this is shared equipment, and you need to make sure you're cleaning up so somebody else doesn't have to deal with your mess. So once I got most of the ink off of things, then now I'm using the soapy water to get rid of that greasy residue and any remaining sort of ink. So cleaning the glass really well, cleaning the edge of the can if I got ink on the side of the can, and then using that soapy water as well on the brayer to make sure that I'm getting off any remains or any residue of that black ink or colored ink, whatever you're printing with. And once that's done, then you just put all the stuff away.